welcome in Wednesday edition of the Hometown Sports Huddle here on WDBJ 7 Plus. Dave Walls here with you, and I'm a little bit dressed down at the moment because I've been kind of shooting football all day today. This afternoon had Seminole District Media Day with about 7 area high schools over in the Lynchburg region talking about their upcoming season. You'll see those coming up in the upcoming days here. But earlier this morning, it was over also in Lynchburg on the mountain at Liberty where the Flames opened their fall camp today. Coach Jamie Chadwell and company talking about what is to come in 2026 and what they're looking out for. Obviously, a quarterback battle to look at with Ethan Vasco having missed the end of last year due to injury and disappointing play with turnovers and injuries and all sorts of just inconsistencies across the board. Certainly not the year that LU was hoping for. And Coach Jamie Chadwell took a lot of time this morning after practice to talk about what he liked, what he didn't like. You're going to hear from other reporters as well as we all kind of grilled him on what the expectations are for 2026, how he's evaluating the talent, which I think is a very interesting part of this. This is going to pretty much shake up the whole episode, but I did want to come in and tell you what's going on. Austin Hicks will also be here for the next 2 days as well here on the Huddle. We hope you will give him your time because LU open today. Virginia Tech has an open practice tomorrow, and their media day is on Sunday. So trust me, Hokie fans, you're going to get lots of Hokies action coming up here very, very soon. But today was about Liberty, and we want to hear from Coach Jamie Chadwell about what is coming up with Liberty Flames in 2026.
Put yourself in a position conditioning-wise. Now that we can do some football in the summer, you hope that your day one, you're way ahead from most. And so I thought there were very limited mistakes today as far as knowing what to do. Now we got to get better at how to do it. But as far as knowing what to do, I think we're ahead because of our summer preparations. So I thought our guys did a really nice job there. But it was good just to see some guys. There's some new guys that were a little hampered during the spring, and you get a chance to see them in some helmets out there. No, nothing really matters until probably when we get the pads on. We can see how that goes. Right? Everybody can look good in shorts. You know, somebody told me I was the best practice player in shorts I'd ever seen. And then we put pads on, and it went downhill from there. So we'll see what happens here in the next couple of days. But really like the effort and the energy they brought. Now the challenge is, can they continue to do that?
What's your overall message to your team entering camp?
You know, the main thing we talked about yesterday was that just what we can control, let's be great at. We talked a lot about how we do it and why we do it. And just be great at the effort, be great at a little of the details, things that we can be controlled. Don't let any of the other outside noise impact us. Really challenge them on being selfless as far as they all have individual goals, which is great. You want to have individual goals, but within the framework of the team. Talk a lot about that. And also just challenge them that we're on this journey together. It's a long journey. And, one thing that with what I went through, I learned you can't have any expectations. And so we told her we're not necessarily looking about anybody else's outside expectations. We're just going to focus on what we can be really good at and enjoy the game of football.
This is your first time going through fall camp here with a lot of new staff members like you do have. Specifically with Sean Quinn, what have you seen with him on the defense, and then how involved are you in kind of the play-by-play stuff on the defensive side of the ball with him? Is he kind of taking over everything?
Yeah, I'm not involved with anything necessary defense. I watch and make sure that we're playing with effort, and if there's something that's crazy, I might say something. But those guys, they've been on that side of the ball for a long time. I think Sean done a great job of is he's built a really good connection among the staff, but also just the position groups. He's done a really good job of that. I think that's one of his gifts. He knows how to connect with guys, and does a really good job explaining why we're doing things. And the new, we got a bunch of new coaches on that side of the ball, and I think they've all done a great job of bringing a different perspective, of how to do things, but also just the energy that they bring and. The challenge, you got so many new guys, but now that they got new coaches, and they want to impress those new coaches as well, the new guys do. And so it's been a good mix as far as the guys that we've added new and the guys that were here, how they've embraced the new staff on that side of the ball.
How much of that staff is crafted in your vision for the defensive staff? How much of that is what Sean was able to put together in his input?
Well, as far as hiring, there's obviously I want him to be able to feel good about some people that he'd like to bring in, but also had in my mind there's some by position certain people maybe I'd worked for that I knew had done well and had an opportunity to hire. So we worked together on that. Most of the people that we brought in, I either knew or he knew, and we knew together, maybe at similar places, and so there was already a sort of connection from that standpoint. But then once we got going, let him roll with that side of it. And as far as what I've shared is just, hey, what I want us to see us do and how we do it. Whether you call cover two or cover, that's your job. But I want to make sure that they're playing together and that the culture of our program, that the defense side of the ball is bought into that as well.
What do you feel like you have to learn, or maybe it's most important that you have to learn about this group still in the next few weeks?
Well, I think part of that is you got to see how they respond to adversity, because you really don't get to see that. You see it a little bit in the winter when you're doing your conditioning. You see it a little in spring, not a lot. But now when you really get to see it's hot, they're going to be beating on each other for so many straight days. You really get to see who somebody is. And I think for me, as we're still, specifically myself, if I'm still getting to learn how they respond and react to different things, because it took me a while to get to know most of them, I think that's still the key. How is this group going to respond when this guy's not the guy? And this guy thinks he's the guy and this is not the guy, or there's an injury, or, how does that respond? So I think we have to do a good job as coaches over the next few practices of putting as much adversity we can to see who we can trust. And we can't, at the end of the day, who can we trust when it gets hard and when things are getting challenging? And I think that's the thing that we still don't know, and we'll learn more about them over the next, hopefully, the next 15 to 17 practices before we get into our first opponent prep.
What are your plans? For evaluating the quarterbacks, and will it be any different? Because you've had quarterback battles through fall camp several times in your tenure here and other places, I'm sure. Will it be any different how you evaluate and determine timeline this year as opposed to years past?
Yeah, we're going to do it a little differently this year. As far as now, we've got 5 guys taking reps. All 5 guys can't get the equal number of reps, so they're not going to. We've as the coaching staff, we're looking. We got I think 8 practices, 9 I think practice 9 is the first scrimmage. So once we get to that first scrimmage, we're naming our top 2, and the top 2 are going to get the rest of the reps throughout the rest of the camp, and then we'll name our 1 after probably the next 5. So everybody will have a chance through that first scrimmage, and then after that, we're going to our top 2, and those 2 are going to be the ones focused on getting all the reps, not trying to figure out who threw for all that stuff. I made a mistake with that in the past. And then once, hopefully one's identified, then he's the one out with the 1. So that's our hard line. We're not going after as far as the top 2. Now, it might take a little longer to figure out who 1 is, but the top 2 we're going to identify and go from there. I mean, you have an idea through spring, through summer. You have an idea. Maybe somebody surprised you with their improvement in the summer, but you have an idea who you think it is. What's unique is you've got, obviously, Ethan Vasco coming off an injury. So he wasn't in the spring, so he didn't get any reps in the spring. So you got to see how he improves from he knows the system, so he's obviously been here for that. But as far as just his health, so you got to see how he improves with that. I think that's a challenge for him, just to see where he's at from his injury. And then those other guys, now they've been in it through a spring and a summer. So from an install standpoint, we've probably installed the offense 4 or 5 times as far as installs for a while. So they might not have done it in games, but we've went through it enough, so they should have a foundation and understanding to go out and perform at the level we think they should.
Do you see the decision going into game week?
I hope not. No, I hope not. Yeah, if it is, nobody's probably done a good job.
Are there any limitations on Vasco? Is he back to 100%?
Says he is, and doctors say he is, and so he says he feels great, and I'm not taking that he's not. But you have to, I think, anytime he had an upper body injury, anytime you have upper body recovery, you just got to see how that continues to develop. It takes a little while because he went from not doing any type of throwing for about 5-6 months, and then you got to build your arm and all those things, different backups, so it just takes a little longer.
With you calling the plays for the first time in a while, what changes in your approach or maybe evaluation of this offense throughout camp and really that first game time?
I would say that, I think every play caller's look, and I've relied on Coach Isaac here the last, throughout the spring and summer to put him in a position where he can hopefully call at some point, and he's done a great job. I think, each caller is different in their patience level. And so I would think that, I've just got to make sure that the way I foresee calling, that those quarterbacks understand this is what we're trying to do, and that sometimes a punt's good, and we all want to score every time. But I do know that we can't turn the ball over like we did last year. We put ourselves in too many bad positions. So we will not do that, whether we have to just punt it on first down. We're not going to turn it over the way we turned it over last year, and so we got to be smarter there. So I think it's making sure that the players understand how to play winning football. The quarterback. This is how winning football needs to be, and the play caller, we got to do a good job of that, of putting them in position is to play winning football, not beat ourselves.
How can you evaluate the offensive line this year? I know it's still early in camp, but what do you like about that group?
Yeah, what? There's a lot of guys returning there that have seen some action in games, so that gives you some confidence, right? What that group has to continue to get better at is just the conditioning level that they're able to play with throughout a game. If you go back and look, I think that line got way better towards the end of the season than they were at the beginning. At the beginning, we had a lot of issues with whether it was holding or false starts because they just weren't in the type of shape that they needed to be, and I think this off season, we had a change in our strength program, and that group has put themselves in a really good position to be able to, hopefully, what you want from an offensive line is to impose your will for 4 quarters, and we weren't able to do that in a lot of ways, and I think that group's capable of it. We're going to have to count on some new guys. We've had some unfortunate injuries at that position, just some random ones that happen, non-contact stuff. And so where it went from being, we thought we were going to have some depth, but I don't know if we're going to have as much depth as we thought. So we're going to have to count on maybe some younger guys that are going to have to maybe play sooner than we had hoped. But I do believe, Coach Durkin, I believe, is the best low-line coach in the country. I believe that. And he gets his guys ready to go. If those guys continue to develop, expect us to have a good offensive line.
Coach, any memorable or lighthearted moments that has happened from, say, the off season leading up through the first day of camp?
Oh, lighthearted. Testimony. Lighthearted. Let's see. We did, I don't know if it's lighthearted, but we did, throughout the summer, we do some LAF life after football, some different things. And so one of the things that we did do is we had a gentleman's day. And on the Gentleman's Day, we brought one of the local business people in to teach people how to take care of their beard and shave. We had a young man that never shaved before, ever, which was, a little surprising. And to watch somebody shaved him and trying to teach him how to shave, and then seeing the players encouraging him on how to do it. I mean, he's a baby; he just got here, but had never been taught how to shave, and so it was. One, there was some lighthearted because they were getting on him, but two, really, to me, it just sort of reemphasized you never know anybody's journey, right? We all assume that somebody knows how to shave. They've been shaving since they was however old, and for him to be the first time, and then to have somebody care enough to teach him, and hey, we want, it was a good moment. It was funny, but it was also they rallied around him and said, "Oh, you never," made a big deal, and then the guy shaved for the first time in this room right here. I mean, literally, he was standing right here. He's 17, 18 years old, and the first time he shaved was July 16th, so that's pretty cool.
Coach, with the new federal judge ruling over the weekend about the 5 for 5 and now the class of 2022, the high school class getting that extra eligibility, how does you and your staff maybe navigate that? Has there been conversations where anybody reaching out of possibly trying to come back for that extra eligibility?
We've obviously monitored it, and we're doing our diligence on our end to see, hey, one, is somebody reaching out, that would want to come back? Two, if that's the case, do we have everything in order to make it happen? No, the thing that you have to look, one, you have to look, hey, do you have the roster spot? Do you have that? That's the first thing you got to deal with is, hey, do we have the roster spot within our Title IX and all the different things that we have to do? And so we've done our due diligence. I know there's a lawsuit on it to see if they try to overturn it. So we're making sure if it gets to the point where it looks like that's going to happen and there's an opportunity for somebody that wants to come back, nobody has contacted me about wanting to come back. And so if it's somebody that does and we have the spot and it's a position of need and we have all the different things and they say you can do this, then we're going to be ready for that. Right now you're sort of just chasing if you try to do more than that because there's going to be a lot of things that are probably going to, it's changed, 2 or 3 times already since whenever it came out. So now when it first came out, everybody's screaming because everybody thought everybody was eligible, and then obviously the NCAA sent out their protocols. And so we're just making sure that we're put ourselves in position if it does get cleared completely and there is an opportunity to bring somebody back, that we're ready to do that.
You guys have a certain number of spots open?
Maybe.
Over the long term, how does 5 for 5 change how you put together a program, a roster?
I think the benefit of the 5 for 5, you go throughout a season with your freshmen, and there's some guys that you'd like to play some, and you're trying to debate, hey, what are the 4 games in the past? What are the 4 games I want to play? So you play them in the first game, and then you might, we need to hope maybe somebody gets hurt, and you're trying to play that game a little bit. So from a standpoint of managing, I think it's way easier. Hey, if they can play, they can play. Let them in there, whatever it is. Now, I met with all of them and told them just because they said you can play, you still got to earn the travel spot. You got to earn the travel. Like our travel roster for games is through Conference USA 74. So, we can only take 74 people, and then you take 3 or 4 quarterbacks, you take your specialists, take so many O-linemen. There's not a lot of spots for just those guys unless they're really contributing, right? And so I do think we've got a couple young guys that showed throughout the spring and that can maybe contribute special teams-wise and maybe contribute on the field in some form or fashion if they continue to develop. My hope with the overall 5 for 5, we'll see what happens, is every freshman that comes in, they want to transfer, and they want at least 2 years at P4. That's their goal. They want 2 years at P4. That way, if they go somewhere and get hurt, they still got another extra year. That's their goal. And so what I'm hoping is if a freshman comes and plays, if you come to this institution, you come early and you take summer school, you can graduate in 3.5 years. If you really you can graduate in 3.5 years, taking summer and enroll early. And so I'm hoping that it'll allow some guys to stay or willing to stay longer because they want that degree. And maybe we get a freshman for 3 years instead of maybe, 2, because you're barely on to 2 right now, truth be told. And so I'm hoping that maybe allows them to stay a little bit longer because they see the development, they see they're on track to get a degree, and they can get it and still have, if they're good enough to go to P4, they still got enough opportunity to do that and still play 2 years. I hope that trends that way. Maybe it won't. Maybe I'm crazy on that. That's what I'm hoping from there.
Coach, you had a moment in practice earlier today when the media was there. You brought the team in. There was some excitement, and you challenged Tyler to a kick. Was that sort of a sudden change type situation?
Yeah, we've sort of always done a sudden change a little bit. Coach Gallagher, our linebacker coach, brought something to me as far as another unique way to do it. And so anytime throughout camp, it could be at any point that we, play Journey or Don't Stop Believing, then that's the signal that there's some type of sudden change. It could be a kick. It could be a team period, whatever it may be. We're going to have, you got one play. And so just one to put on us on that whoever's out there, hey, it's a big deal. You better be ready to go. Get everybody around them. It was good to see him make that today. See how guys handle pressure, but also just have a reminder about some sudden changes. And you can't control what happens, but we can control our response. That's been a big, important. What's the word I'm looking for? Focus from this summer is just how we respond to what happens to us matters. We've had some injuries, had one today, and doesn't sound like it's going to be good. So our response to that's going to be important. And so if we can have good responses in those pressure moment times, good things will happen. So that was the start of it today. And so we'll see how it continues to go. But and it's just whenever that song plays, everybody has to come out and be ready to rock and roll.
Coach, there was a lot of hype music early on. We loved it. Are there
clean?
It was clean. It was clean.
It was clean.
Are there some must-have songs you have to have out there on the field during practice?
They don't care what I like, to be honest with you. And so, and some of the things that they like, I couldn't tell you who they are. And so the main thing for me is anything we play, it has to represent our university and what we're about from that standpoint. If it was all up to me, it'd be probably Kenny Chesney, Morgan Wallen. I like Ella Langley's new song too. I'm a big Jimmy Buffett fan. And so, but anytime the 80s music, Coach Scott will throw some 80s music in there because my sister was 9 years older than me, and so she was a teenager in the 80s. So I love 80s music, and so anytime there's an 80s music, I probably told him, hey, put some 80s music. I do like 80s music, and so but our guys don't have any clue who any of those people are really. So whatever Coach Scott plays to get them going works out. I think we did have a pretty good one out there today, though. I think it was an 80s music.